Is it? We're live. You still sound like a robot, and I don't know if that's on my end or if everybody's going to hear that. Maybe we can ask.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and share it.
Okay. Facebook. Oh, it is on Facebook. Okay. Okay.
Huh. Did you change something with your audio?
Is it better?
Okay. Yeah, it's still not giving me anything to share, but I will just repost it to my main feed. I don't see the watch party invite. I would try honestly toggling a different microphone 1 or 2 more times because it still sounds like robotic.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's coming through on the recording that way. Hi, 3 viewers. We have 3 viewers. Doo-doo-doo.
Hello, hello.
That's better. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
We're there.
That works. Okay, let us see what's going on here.
Hey,
We've got Kiran. You know Kiran.
Yes, yes. How's it going?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share everything out now that you sound like a human.
Yeah.
And share again. So many places to share. It's insane.
I know.
It's like personal story, personal feed, business story, business feed. You want to cross post over to Instagram. It's like, geez. There needs to be an overhaul of, it's funny because Facebook just overhauled everything, but I think they made it worse so far. All right, copy link, and I will just paste this in. Cool. Do you have your camera sitting in front of you right now?
Yes, my camera is always with me. If left to myself, I'd no pun on the word. I'd sleep with it.
Yes. Yeah. No, I go through those, especially when it's a new camera. I've fallen asleep configuring it, in my hands, playing around with menus and just you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh my god, I'm glad I didn't fall off my my bed or something onto the floor. Yeah.
So are you much of a menu guy? I mean, I'm like, I hate menus. And it just kind of somehow, maybe just because I'm not much of a reader in that sense. I don't like reading much. I'd rather listen or watch. So
I also hate menus, but I do enjoy the setup process. You got a new camera, and I love taking a deep dive into all the different layers and branches that you can explore in menus just to figure the camera out and
and those Canon and Sony days, it was crazy, right? I mean, some crazy number of pages. But one thing I still wonder, why these guys still nowadays all menus are available online, but they still, all camera brands basically, they put that thick manual with it, right? I think there's a huge scope for saving some paper. And
yeah, that's true, definitely. Although I tend to prefer a paper manual just because it's easier to keep track, like functionally. It's I like it, but I agree it's unnecessary. Maybe you should.
I mean, and menus have gotten, the online menus have gotten quite interactive also. Like you just got to click and it takes you directly to the page, so you don't have to like keep scrolling and stuff.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, they've made some advancement there, but yeah.
Yep. 100%.
All right, I think we have on YouTube, we have a few guys here. Okay, cool. So Anybody at your end watching still?
Let me see. I don't know. I keep trying to share it to my main Facebook page, and it's giving me crap. I'm gonna try again though. Was it difficult for you to acquire the camera? Was it on back order for a while, or did it ship pretty quickly?
Yeah, the 907X was so. Here's the story. So I was pretty excited because I've used the GFX 50R, and yes.
Fuji.
It's the same sensor. Obviously, the color science is different between Fuji and Hazy, but somehow the 50R kind of I found it a little disbalanced with the longer lenses. Like with the 110 or something, it was fairly lens heavy.
So you mean the physical balance of the weight distribution?
Ergonomically, it kind of irritated me to a certain extent. I mean, the files were awesome, the quality was brilliant and all that, but that was kind of a bit of an issue. So I sold that, and then I was shooting with the S1 and stuff and my Leicas. But then when the X1D2 came, I was quite excited because I tested the original X1D Mark I, and it was slow. It was a absolute slouch. So this one said it was faster and all that. So then I got this. Then I got excited about the 907X. But I didn't want to go for that Moon edition and all that. I think it's just an overkill. It's just
it's marketing. Yeah.
More and stuff. So I was waiting for the standard edition, and then it would never ship. So in the meantime, what I did preparing for that, I sold my X1D2, and I was waiting for that, and it was not coming. And then I had weddings coming up, so then I rebought the X1D2, and then there was somebody who had bought the 907X and within a couple of days wanted to sell it on Fred Miranda. So I said, okay, I'll get that, and then I sell the X1D2. So I got that, but then when I tested it side by side, yeah, that's when I felt the whole flash issue kind of bugging me a bit. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's the same sensor, same color science, all that. Picture quality was obviously everything was fine. I loved the form factor. I loved shooting with it. The flip screen was awesome. Everything was great. It was just that bit of that flash thing. And else you pay $500 for a cold shoe, which is that viewfinder thing which you take off.
It's insane, right?
Yeah. So $500 for a cold shoe was not something I wanted to invest in at this point. So all right, so we've got some viewers going here.
By the way, I did try and share, and it kicked back a privacy error. So I don't know if there's a simple toggle you can like make the live stream less private, but
yeah, I don't see I've done anything here. Public, save video, copy link, edit audience, edit live video.
It wouldn't shock me if there's something weird between the StreamYard application and Facebook. So privacy is probably getting messed up, but that's okay.
Settings, stream, viewing, broadcast. This is spherical, unpublished. Allow. What? There is something, but it's weird. Okay. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
If somebody can help. Hey, Sam is unable to share his Facebook streaming. So if anybody has any solution, we'll welcome that.
It's a privacy says I don't know, something is preventing it due to privacy.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Oh well.
Cool. So hey guys, thank you for joining. So I don't think we need to introduce Sam. So and if at all, then just go ahead and check out Sam Hurd Photography or his Instagram. I am the Sam. So one of what do I say? One of the most creative, of course, from what I follow a lot of international photographers. One of the most creative, and I think one great thing is you share your knowledge. You're fairly generous in that sense. So thank you, Sam. It's great having you and knowing you. So guys, this is about two cameras from the same brand with the same sensor but entirely different form factors. So this is the Hasselblad X1D Mark II, which is in the shape of a mirrorless camera, but it is a medium format in the sense that the sensor is
Huge.
Bigger than a full frame sensor. I'm not going to do that for long. Okay. And then what they did was they launched the 907X, and Sam has the 907X. There you go. Oh, you've got the Nocti on it?
Yeah, yeah. I've got a bunch of. I have every mount adapter for every system to try it out on this right now. The Noctilux is on there. 50.
I just sold mine.
Yeah, it's a beautiful lens. On this camera, it's got quite a lot of vignetting, so you can take care of that in post, of course, if you just want to crop it in with the high resolution of this sensor. It's easy, but it is, being that there's no other viewfinder, you can only compose and see what you're doing through this. Having a constant vignette is a bit of an annoyance. I wish you could precisely set a custom crop so you could just punch in just a little bit, but obviously you can crop in camera, but they're preset, settings that it's too much for where I need it.
So even if you go to the 1:1 crop, it doesn't go away?
Yeah, but so if I do that, crop and orientation, I can go one by one, yes, but then this, it's actually losing more than I need to. The vignette isn't that heavy. The vignettes, it's really all I need is, the same aspect ratio of whatever's native,
4:3,
but punch in, 5%, something like that. Anyway, and this is all being very nitpicky. It's not like any of this is just preferential. The fact that you can mount and use manual focus Leica lenses at all is pretty amazing. It's really exciting.
I tested the Nocti and the 75 lux on the 50R. So the Noctilux obviously is same size of sensor, so had a vignette, but the 75 1.4 interestingly had very, very less vignette, just towards the absolute peripherals, very little. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's funny to see which lenses tend to perform better or worse than others. The other lens I love, and it has hardly any vignetting at all, is a 58mm f1.2 Nikon manual focus lens. It pairs beautifully with this camera. It's a 58, but when you factor in the larger sensor, you get, I think, closer to 45, something like that. 46, I can't remember.
But 0.8. So 45, 46. So here's the thing, guys, and this is something which Sam and I have been discussing. So you know what? My camera has this. And his camera doesn't have that.
No, my camera has a port. It has a port, but it's a dangling wire that then has it. Yeah, it's
That's the problem.
Really
so
lame.
Here's the thing. Now, the beauty of these cameras is that they have lenses which have leaf shutters. Now, what can a leaf shutter do? It can sync up to 1/2000th of a second. So even if you're shooting midday, you want to shoot wide open, you want to take the shutter speed high to underexpose the ambient, do all that stuff. It's amazing. You don't need HSS. You don't need dedicated trigger. So I'm using a Fuji trigger, to trigger my Pro Photo, and I can still go up to 1/2000. I don't need a dedicated trigger. I mean, they don't have one. I think the Nikon fits probably. I think it works fine. But the whole point of this is that medium format, typically you would shoot in the studio. I would love to go outdoor and shoot portraits, irrespective of the time of the day. So I just did a wedding last week. The ceremony was outdoor between 1 to 2. Okay, which is like
fun.
and when I used flash, this was amazing because I used the Leica Q, which has a leaf shutter, and I had this, which has a leaf shutter. So I could sync till 1/2000, and that is a real boon. Now coming to the 907X, it can do the same thing, but it doesn't at this point have a dedicated hot or cold shoe. It has a cable, like Sam said, which goes from the back. It will go inside the trigger, and it can, activate the trigger, which can activate the light, but it doesn't have anywhere to place the trigger, so it's frankly hanging. But then Sam had his own thoughts around that. So talk about that, Sam. I think you said you're not much of a flash guy. So
no, I mean, I do occasionally use flash, and I would perhaps, my reason and motivation, I don't know why I own this camera. At first, I didn't know why. I bought it because it was just stunningly beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And I was just like, I have to try it. And I just wanted to see what the experience of shooting, using a totally different hand grip, and everything about how you hold and operate the camera is different from my normal cameras. I wasn't even thinking about or fixated much on the leaf shutter and the flash aspects of this, but they do sell their own little extra grip and mount that actually it appears not to have any type of cold shoe or hot shoe still. I don't know why, but I have a feeling they will release some kind of add-on at some point that'll let you snap
Absolutely. it. So what you can do is that did you get that viewfinder at all?
Yeah, it's on order. It still hasn't shown up. I don't know what happened.
So you can pull the actual viewfinder off, and then it acts as a cold shoe.
It does. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Cool. I read a few conflicting things online, and I was like, I don't know what to believe. So I was just going to wait and see it in person. So that's great. So that solves that.
So that's what I was saying. It's a quite expensive proposition for a cold shoe at $500, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then that's not even if you want to get the space edition or whatever, their moon edition, it's like even more. Yeah, they're making money, or trying to. I don't know how many people are actually.
The camera is just that thin thing. That's the camera.
It took me a minute to realize as well that this is 1 second. This is the actual camera body.
That's the camera.
That's it.
That's it. And that's the beauty of it.
And then if you've got other film Hasselblad cameras, you can snap this back onto, I guess, anything in their V series, V system of film cameras. Obviously, that's not as big as some of the film you would shoot with. The sensor's still smaller, but it still gives you access to that.
It's an APS-C medium format.
Basically, they really should call it that. I'm excited for true medium format someday. My Phase 1 does have a larger sensor than this.
Right.
I someday that'll trickle down to these kinds of cameras, but that's still very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It seems exponentially.
Whether to get a car or whether to.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, I love the idea that Hasselblad, that the decision they took to take the same sensor, but for some applications and preferences, here it is in a very shallow, super modern, mirrorless, the one you own. It's fantastic implementation, and then the exact same menus, exact same sensor in something more tactile and slower and retro. That's cool. I hope they keep doing that, and I'm so glad they have the same sensor, because so often there are enough trade-offs with just the physical form factor of a camera that when you throw in having to think about a different sensor in terms of if they perform different with ISO versus not, it's just, I don't know. It makes the decision-making process a little clearer in my mind. It'd be nice if every camera maker every year committed to, this is our sensor. This is just what it is. This is what it looks like. And then the bodies change around it. That would be, or the opposite, honestly, frankly, if they made, an incredible body and only had one body type, but with a bunch of different use case sensors, that would make a little less sense, but I wish they would go one way or the other.
And what I love about it is the screen. I don't think I've ever seen a screen like this in any digital camera.
The first thing Nessa, my girlfriend, first thing she said is, that looks like e-ink. It's very bright. It's so easy to read in bright sunlight. It's not e-ink, but it's very well presented. And then the menus themselves are super intuitive, easy to.
Brilliant. And the size, it's much larger than most screens
Yes.
on digital cameras, and the resolution and the colors. Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
I shoot, I see it, and then I immediately want to go home and look at it in the big screen.
Giant.
It's
Start editing.
phenomenal.
Speaking of which, the files edit beautifully. They're really, really great colors. Yeah.
So on that note, let me show something I shot yesterday.
Cool. Yeah, I'll pull up my Lightroom
and then
too.
You can pull up. Okay, this is going to go infinite. Okay, wait. Hello. Okay, there you go. All right, these were shot yesterday at 3 p.m. And this is what I'm talking about, the advantage of having those leaf shutters. So the background, those buildings were actually, sunlight was hitting these, and it was pretty bright.
Yeah, what's the modifier? Is that your Pro Photo with?
Yeah, it's just a normal. They have that OCF beauty dish.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the most portable. So carrying outdoor, that's what I have all the time. So just placed it on the side, and it was just at about 7, power of about 8 or something like that. Not even full power or anything. It was just about 8.
Which lens?
This was the 90 mm Hazy.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I went up to 2000. So I just underexposed the background, shot it wide open at about ISO 100 or 200 or something like that. And there you go. Same thing here. Same situation. Same. This was against the light. I mean, the sun, obviously, from there, and a reflection with a phone or whatever. But and the great thing is the contrast in these lenses, even if you're shooting bang opposite light. And the contrast detection, although slow, is absolutely accurate.
Yes,
it's really accurate.
You're not getting any fancy face tracking or eye tracking, sadly, but it is accurate, and the optics, that glass is just stunningly beautiful. Yeah.
So that's really the advantage I dig for, especially because, and you know this better than anyone else. I mean, weddings can happen at weird times, weird hours, in weird places.
Yeah, I would say normally they don't happen when you want.
Exactly.
Normally they're the least ideal time of day for me for whatever. And some of that is my fault as a photographer. I don't tend to take on a lot of the planning opportunities. Let me share my screen with some photos. Alrighty. Boop. And
hey guys, if you have any questions, please go ahead on Facebook or on YouTube or wherever you're watching.
Can you see this okay? Is it?
1 second. I have to add it to, yeah, right there.
Cool. There we are. Yeah. So these are, almost all of these are probably with the Nikon paired 58 f1.2. So, and it does have some vignetting. What's funny is it has vignetting even on a 35 millimeter full frame.
Yeah.
But, it's tasteful. It's not distracting. I tend to add vignette or at least gradients anyway. But just the shallow depth of field you can get from that lens is otherworldly. It's truly look at that. It's like there's a painting in the background behind him. I love it.
It looks like I have to look for a 58 1.2.
Yeah, unfortunately that lens is pretty expensive, right? It's only used is how you can find it. They built them I think through the 90s, but it's a 1970 design. And you can still find them in fairly good condition and quality, but it's crazy. Just the look is unreal. And then again, these are fully edited files, of course, but I just find myself having to finesse them less. I just don't have to spend that much time before the reds and the greens are just super punchy and beautiful. I mean, oh my gosh. And I don't know how it's coming across in through
it's
live streaming, but you can get that field of view with a really shallow depth of field that previously, you'd have to shoot a bokeh panorama or something to achieve.
Exactly.
All in one click. Of course, the other thing we need to talk about though is if you mount other lenses that aren't the Hasselblad leaf lenses, leaf shutter lenses, you have to use the electronic, which is basically taking a screen grab of it's scanning the sensor instead of flipping something down. And the trade-off with that is it takes, I think, a third of a second. So you're basically shooting it. If you want to think of it as a shutter speed, you kind of can. At 1/3 of a second, think of how many shots, like if you had to be taking a portrait at 1/3 of a second shutter speed, what would you need to do to direct your couple so that there wasn't blur? You don't get motion blur with that, with the electronic shutter. You get this like warbly, I'll show, actually, I'm sure I've got a couple flagged. You get this warbly screen thing. Let's see. Here, I actually took some on purpose somewhere. It was the day before, where I don't know how to describe it really, but it's just called rolling shutter. But in a photo, here's an example of that. So this is me taking a picture and then spinning, like twisting the camera. There we go. To show you, like, as it's scanning in that 1/3 of a second, if the bottom part of the sensor is looking at something in a different place than the top part of the sensor, it's gonna,
It may be a new avenue to get creative, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, some of these I'm kind of happy with. We've got like a weird Inception movie thing all happening.
First, I noticed this. So I used to have the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II, and way back in I think 2015 or 15, I think, I took it to the Cincinnati Open, and Nadal was practicing. Rafael Nadal was practicing with Wawrinka. And I was shooting Nadal, and without me realizing, it went to the, because I was shooting wide open and it was very bright, it went to the electronic shutter automatically. Now I come home and I see the pictures, I see Nadal's racket, like that. It's like,
yes. Yeah.
And I was like wondering what the hell is going on. I mean, is it that I was like, maybe he has some special racket, the way he hits it, it actually goes, and then I started thinking about it, and oh my God, it's all rolling shutter. So that was funny.
Yeah, I actually do think there's some creative potential here. I would love to mount it to something that kind of locks me in to, because right now these, I'm just spinning them, and it's very imperfect. It's very whatever, kind of random. Yeah. But if you could actually mount it on a stand that would perfectly spin it.
Yeah. So a gimbal which has that auto rotate or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it'd have to be pretty quick, and this is a lot of weight to put on something like that. But I think it could be doable. We'll have to see. But this is more a limitation than it is a feature. It's a cool.
And the other thing for me is that when it's on electronic shutter, obviously you can't use a flash. So that's another problem. Yeah.
It would be nice if they, I don't know, I guess it would just take, I'm sure it's a fundamental aspect of the sensor that they're locked into this rolling shutter at 1/3 of a second. But there's something I want to send you, or I'll post it in the chat, or maybe I'll just share my screen. But it's pretty interesting if you have any type of, what's the mount? The Canon EF mount lenses, which I do. I've got a couple. I don't know what is playing right now. Oh, I see. All right, here it goes. This is a company called Tech Art, and they've been around for a while. I've used a couple of their, essentially, I guess what their specialty is, what they're sort of known for, is making mount adapters that enable autofocus on lenses that normally either don't support autofocus because they just don't, or whatever. So here, I'll post the link in the chat. You can check it out. I'll also share my screen again if people want to see what I'm showing you. There we go. You might have to allow my screen. But here is a Canon EF lens mounted on a Hasselblad X1D. So I guess this is the previous generation, but I would assume it would work. And it is allowing autofocus now on EF mount Canon lenses, which is pretty cool because I've got a couple of choice lenses like the Canon 50 f1.0.
Oh, wow. That's
a
really cool one.
Yeah, this is another really rare lens, huge amount of glass, and it's an f1.0, just an insanely shallow depth of field that right now, when I try and mount it to the camera, it's got like a focus by wire system or something in it that doesn't actually let me even manual focus. It doesn't let me do anything. It's just dead. I mean, you can see through the glass, but again, you can't adjust your focus point. So having an adapter like that, if they can get it working on, I don't know, I would assume maybe it's the same mount. So it might work on my 907X, but it's a $500 adapter. So I'm going to wait and see if they officially say they support it or not.
So there's a question for you, Sam. Bhanu asks, how do you like the ergonomics, specifically when shooting wedding?
Yeah. So only for portraits or real brief random candids would this really work. Even with the autofocus lenses, you need to control, or you at least need your environment to be predictable enough or slow enough for you to, take stuff. Like, so I that tends to be like cocktail hour coverage. If you have just people mingling, standing around tables, I might take this out because low risk, there's probably not a critical moment that I absolutely am going to have, maybe if I'll keep a backup camera on my shoulder or something, but just walking around, taking random candids, this is really fun. Maybe a couple ceremony, but where people are standing in a spot or seated without any quick movement. But this is not going to be a workhorse sort of.
Yeah.
Every 90% of my day is still going to be the Canon R6 because you need autofocus, you just do. But okay, yeah. What was the other question? It was the ergonomics overall. Mm-hmm. Incredibly awkward at first. I thought like, okay, this is a fun gimmick, but I made a bad choice when I first bought it. But that's only because I had never ever used. This is the first Hasselblad I've ever held in my hand. Once I got used to flipping this out, my muscle memory kind of adapted to how this. So the shutter button is here, and then to make adjustments to either exposure compensation or aperture or whatever, you move this little ring, and then it's got a little like option button here. So you're kind of playing with those three settings with your fingers in a totally different and new way that's unfamiliar. And once my muscle memory kind of aligned, everything was amazing. I love it. And I love how it's a break from my normal way of shooting with my normal cameras. It's just refreshing. The one thing I will say though, I guess this falls into ergonomics, is they put the window for battery and memory cards on this side. And it is a little easy because I tend to hold it from the side that has the shutter on it. It's a little easy to open that up, or at least it doesn't often like open completely, but it's easy to like pull it back a touch. You can see it's got like, some room, and it'll I often find that I've accidentally nudged it open. Again, it's not like flying open like that all the time, but it's just annoying. But it does feel good. It's kind of satisfying. It's got like a clickiness to it that I don't hate it, but I could see some people being frustrated by that. They probably could have put it on this side just because most people are right-handed. I think they'll tend to hold the camera like this. Anyway, but God, it's just such a beautiful, fun thing to hold. It's this little photo box. It's in your hand. It's not a rectangle. It's like a cube practically. And it's addicting. It's very inspiring.
So are you shooting more waist level with this, or are you getting it to eye level and shooting straight on?
Waist level. Yeah, almost not eye level at all. Almost always a bit lower. Yeah. The one downside is there's no way to rotate this the opposite direction. And often I want to be shooting really high up. And if I'm shooting high up, you kind of have to keep it flat. And it's just annoying. But it is the hinge and the design of this is very beefy and chunky. Nice. It's so strong. So I'm constantly flipping it up, and it is a really nice experience shooting just like this. So that's how I roll.
When I used to shoot with Canon, I don't know, before 2013 or something, I used to have that angle viewfinder, that C-type, that the one which you could kind of look from the top. Mm-hmm. So I used to love the slightly lower angle or waist level angle a lot of times, even during weddings and stuff. And then after that, I almost stopped doing that. But when I used the 907X, actually, it was nice. And I tried some street, and it was really interesting because people didn't know I was shooting, right? I was down. Right. And then, I was just focusing and shooting, and nobody had a clue what was going on. So that was actually
and just by default, you're at a bit of a creative advantage. Exactly. Maybe not always with flattery, because shooting up on somebody from a low angle could be unflattering. But in general, from interesting angles and stuff, life is so much more interesting. A few feet below your regular eye line, you just tend to get a lot more objects that you can shoot alongside or shoot through to create interesting foregrounds. It's a really nice position to shoot from, and very unfamiliar for a lot of people unless they shoot a mirrorless camera that has a flip out screen or whatever. it's a fun setup. I think I will probably come around to buying the one that you have also, just because you do get that sensor crossover. It's totally compatible, but you know, the systems work together. Anything I buy for my camera, I'm pretty sure will be compatible with yours.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
So these were all with the 907 waist level.
Oh, okay.
And with the 45 mm, you know, so I was fairly close, and you know, nobody even bothered.
So that's a 35 equivalent, right? I've been looking at that lens. It's a f3.2. So is that a 2.8 equivalent or something?
3.5. 3.5. Yeah.
Is that roughly a 2.8?
3.2.
Okay. Yeah, it looks great. And that one's very lightweight lens, right? It's kind of, it's not bulky.
But there are two versions. So the lighter and the smaller one is the f4. It's called the 45p or something like that.
Yeah.
But I have the 3.5.
Cool. Yeah, beautiful. Well, the thing that caught my eye about Hasselblad in general, compared to some of the other medium format systems right now, like Fuji, was the 80 millimeter f1.9. Yeah. Which
my friend has it. I tried it.
I've got it somewhere. It's in a bag somewhere. I've got it. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's the first medium format camera maker. I think even Phase One doesn't have something equivalent to this look. That's, you know, essentially a 51 or like a 56 1.5 or something like that in full frame world. So the performance is incredible. You get the leaf shutter benefits, and you get that insanely shallow depth of field without any of the trade-offs that you have shooting with these lenses that I'm trying to get a similar look with. Yeah, it's really nice.
So here are a few with the 85 1.9, obviously shot wide open. I don't see any reason to shoot anything else with that.
But, yeah, that's.
And these are all natural light. And this is what I was talking about. The contrast, even when you're shooting against the light, it's just phenomenal on all these lenses, you know. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, this looks fantastic. The what was I going to say? Oh, I will say as beautiful as that lens is, especially useful to have the autofocus and everything, shooting with manual lenses on these is not bad, because the focus peaking is intuitive and natural, and it totally works. I'm glad they really refined that part of the experience to be, I feel confident that like what I'm seeing is going to be sharp versus not. You just, you know, got to direct your subject a little bit in terms of not moving too quickly on you, and you're in good shape. So yeah. Exciting times. I wasn't even aware of so the Hasselblad you own. I was aware of when it first launched, like 2016, I want to say, something like that. And I was not very impressed with the initial body. I can't remember what was weird about it. The Mark I version of that. Maybe it was the shutter was really loud, or the menus were slow. Did you ever use the first version?
Yeah, I tested it. It was a very slow camera. I mean, if you switch it on, it would take 8 seconds to just be operational.
Boot up, right? That's a problem. That's bad news.
And if you're shooting weddings, you surely don't want that to be happening to you, right?
Yeah, so I think I just booted this on. It took about 3 seconds, maybe. I just turned mine on from totally, I think maybe 3 seconds. It's very quick.
So they basically said we've improved it, like, you know, to half the time, which is also pretty slow. But I think in terms of sheer response, this is much better. Is there room? Yes, I think there's still room, because sometimes what happens, I switch it on and then I'm clicking the shutter button for focusing, and it says, you know, hold on, you know, I'm still not ready, or the card is not ready, or something like that, you know. So it sometimes does that. But I think it's a far cry from the version 1.
Yeah, they've made a lot of really great refinements, and but this camera caught me off guard. I think I saw some random poster or something, and I was like, oh, that's funny, somebody photoshopped an old Hasselblad to look digital. And then I like Google searched a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is actually coming out. I need to buy this. I totally missed the announcement, so I'm kind of glad, because I would have been, you know, chomping at the bit for a year or two waiting for this thing to launch. I only had to wait a month.
And you know, the other good thing that Hasselblad did was they bit the bullet and did a good thing with the price. The first one was some $9,000 or something like that, and they realized they could not sell the Mark II if they still priced it. And I don't know if it has something to do with DJI taking over Hasselblad and bringing a little more sense in terms of the pricing and stuff.
Probably. I don't know who these people are that would have originally bought it. Like, who are these people? I don't know. I mean, same with a lot of Leica's cameras that they release. I'm just like, nobody is going to buy this in any meaningful numbers. Maybe super rich collectors. But like, how are they selling cameras? Yeah, that are just the worst shooting experience for $9,000. That's crazy.
Well, they use it to shoot pets, so dogs and cats.
Gotta have those posters of your pets.
And I just did a recent video, and I don't know if you've kind of used any of these guys, the TT Artisans and the 7 Artisans group.
No, let's see what are we looking at here.
Oh my God, these guys are amazing. So this is the TT Artisan 50mm 1.4.
Okay.
Cool. This, I mean, you'll fall off the chair if I told you this is $370.
Okay, wow.
Okay. And it is insane. I mean, I'm not saying it for saying sake. I've used the Sumilux, I've used the Noctilux, like I've used, the Leicas, which mean
it actually holds up compared to them.
I'm sorry?
It actually does hold up in comparison.
Let me show you. Yeah. I just shot this yesterday, and it's astounding. I mean, it's crazy. And I have the 28 1.4 of the 7 Artisan. Those guys are also damn good. And there's a bit of confusion between these two guys. There's a TT Artisan and then there's a 7 Artisan, but it is just phenomenal for the price they sell.
Where do they make these lenses? Do you know which country?
Oh, take a guess.
China. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Figured.
Now look at this. This is, I don't know how clear this one is. This thing. This is on the monochrome. This is on my M9 monochrome CCD. Wow. This is what it does at 1.4. And look at the background. It's just creamy.
Pretty creamy. Yep, that's smooth.
There is no dirty kind of smearing, this, that, nothing. I mean, I to be honest, I've not tested it on color, but people who've tested it still say good things about it. This is just phenomenal, and this is with rangefinder focusing. Now I know I missed this eye and I focus on this eye, but wherever it focuses, it's like dead sharp. It's just absolutely stunning, and the contrast is phenomenal. The build quality is very good. It's just.
Which body was this on?
This was on the first monochrome, the M9 monochrome.
Oh, monochrome, gotcha.
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, dang, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to take a look at those.
Unbelievable. This
$370. Yeah, it's hard to argue with.
$370 shipped internationally from China, including shipping. Now beat that.
Dang. Yeah. Yeah. Great photos too. Just good.
Yeah. So thank you. So that's what I was saying. I made a video, and I know people laughed at me, but I was like, Leica seriously needs to probably also think about. I know they don't have to reduce drastically and stuff, but moderating the prices. I mean, all the new lenses are above $10,000, right? And look, I understand the whole exclusivity, and they don't want to be like another lens in the market, and they have high tolerances. They have the brilliant build, all that I understand, handmade, German engineering, all that. But it's just getting to a stage where it just is not making sense to buy a new Leica lens. How much ever I love it, how much ever I'm an absolute, Leica fanboy or whatever. But the moment they say 8,000, 10,000, I'm like, okay, I need to now step back.
I completely agree. And companies, it has been done. Apple essentially is a really close, I would say, approximation to Leica in terms of their principles and how they like to be perceived and how they market themselves. And Apple has trended, pretty affordable in terms of a lot of the iPhones, and at the same time gone way more expensive. So they've kind of, created this transition in the market that's working really, really well for them. Most people are able to reasonably afford an Apple phone that's new somewhere in the lineup. And it seems like Leica could also do something. Yeah. And they, honestly, they're just going to have to at some point. All these other mirrorless sort of rangefinder-esque cameras, they're incredibly lucky, I believe, that Fuji never released a full frame version of their rangefinders, because I just can't imagine like a. Well, I don't know. Actually, I wish Fuji had released something, because then Leica would have been forced to respond somehow. Right now, they're like the only, camera full frame of that form factor and experience, the rangefinder experience. That's like amazing. So I would kind of wish Fuji would start tackling that range. I don't know why.
The problem starts when even working professionals who do this full time cannot afford a certain, series of equipment, right? I mean,
sure. Yeah.
Even if you're a top wedding photographer, really doing well, you would think a few times before, investing in an SL system, or even the SL lenses. I mean, and look at what's happening now.
51.4 SL is at least $5,000, right? What is it?
Yeah. And then there comes Sigma with their. Okay, it's Sigma versus Leica. Fine. I don't even go into that argument. But then still, you're looking at $1,000 lens, $1,200 lens versus like a $5,000 lens. I'll say, okay, what is my go-to lens? Is it the 35? Fine, that I'll get a Leica, and the rest I'll all get.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where the problem is. It's actually constraining. It's a huge constraint even for working professionals. So that's something. So my good friend Joshua, who basically sold me the monochrome, I sold him the Noctilux, and then I sold him the X1D too, and all that. So he says I shoot manual with the native glass 80% of the time. So even on the Hazy, he's shooting manual with the native lenses.
Yeah. Oh, with the native lenses, it is a good experience. You can feel the motor sort of. It's easily and quickly able to be overridden, so that you jump out of autofocus straight into manual. Focus peaking is precise. It's a great experience to shoot manual with the. That's not too surprising at all.
Hey, so now your wedding setup is the R6 and the Hazy, or any other bodies you're.
No, just R6 and the Hasselblad. I also have this old Hasselblad lens. It's the Zeiss. It's a planar lens. It is the 110 millimeter f2. So on the film bodies, this is, I think, a close approximation to like an 85 something. Dreamy, beautiful lens. So I've got the photodiox adapter. So Hasselblad to the Hasselblad XCD adapter.
X to V. So this is a V lens, right? This is their manual.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I bought it to use on my phase 1, which it's pretty stunning on as well. But the phase 1 that I have is pretty antiquated at this point. It's still stunning photos, but it's a much slower experience than shooting with the Hassi.
So the other beauty about the 907 is that you can actually mount them on technical cameras. If you have one of those Alpas or the Cambos or any of those, and if somebody is doing architecture or landscapes where they want to kind of do a bit of tilting and stuff like that, I think that's a great proposition, because the next closest thing to this is the $20,000, $30,000 phase 1s.
Yeah.
So if you're able to live with that slight bit of a crop factor and 50 MP, then I think it's a great choice for that.
I've never shot with those technical cameras, but they look cool. They look amazing. Stunningly beautiful bodies.
So, so that's okay, guys. I think if there are any questions,
cool.
We'll take
Thanks for chatting with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
We'll have to reconnect at some point. I'm going to you've inspired me to get my Pro Photo mounted up with my beauty dish and try some leaf shutter shots with this camera. I just don't use flash very often, but when I do, I always love it. I always love the extra effort being put into it.
It's only for those outdoor portraits or something when the light is really bad. Otherwise, I'm generally, or obviously in the studio, but outdoor only then. Otherwise, even I kind of go with either the Leicas or something and just shoot available light. But it's sometimes nice to do that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kanan.
All right, thank you.
Really interesting and nice to catch up. And I was trying to pull that picture from Silk when we first met, and I kept scrolling on Facebook. It never came up, but I just wanted to.
Oh, dang!
We met the first time at Silk, by the way. in
I'm
October 2018.
surprised we can't. We'll find that photo.
Yeah.
Hopefully, man, I don't know when they'll be doing conferences like that again, but
I know.
hopefully in the next
We're
year
all
and a half.
praying for COVID too.
Yeah, I'd love to return. Okay, well,
Awesome.
stay safe, stay well.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.